As was explicitly stated, this in no way affected Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, or other entitlements that Americans depend on. I've made abundantly clear Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid have not been affected by any action we're taking in any way, shape, or form.
Except it was. A lot of that kind of hand-wringing and fact-checking, and it sounds a lot like fascism. Do you think that gets Democrats to a better place with the American people?
No, I think what we have to do is we have to meet people where they are economically. I think that was the big lesson of this election, at least for me. I think that we have to make sure that, for instance, we focus on lowering the cost of living, whether it's buying gas, groceries, rent, healthcare, education, and then, of course, improving people's incomes and getting them to a better place so they can achieve their economic dreams. On the other hand, we also have to stand up for our principles and ideals, and of course, the Constitution, which I know you believe very strongly in. And so we have to walk and chew gum.
Mm. In listening to the state of play and how this is coming across to people, I heard Stephen A. Smith. He was just on the show before. He said on Bill Maher that people in this country, and this is an interesting proposition, I want to get your head on it, Raja, that people looked at what the Democrats were prioritizing in terms of identity and what should be interesting proposition. I want to get your head on it, Raja, that people looked at what the Democrats were prioritizing in terms of identity and what should be taught to kids and what people should be made to say and to think and how and where, including online and free expression, and that this country decided, the majority of Americans decided, that Donald Trump was a closer semblance of normal for them than the Democrats. What do you make of that proposition?
Well, that's a head scratcher. And I think that's, obviously I ended up winning my reelection in a suburban district in Chicago, the Chicago suburbs. And I think what I learned is that we have to do not only our messaging different, we have to do our policy different. We have to do the substance of what we're trying to accomplish for the American people differently. And what I mean by that is I've talked to you before about, for instance, the work of the committee that I'm the ranking member of, the Select Committee on the Strategic Competition between the U.S. and China. It's one of the most bipartisan and constructive committees in all of Congress because we try to figure out where our boldest common denominators and work from there. And then with regard to other issues, we set them aside until such time that we can kind of bridge the differences. But let's start where we can agree, and then let's go to other places. So, for instance, maybe we can work with Donald Trump with regard to upgrading the skills of people who aren't going to get four-year college degrees through improving our career technical education system. Or as another issue, how do we actually lower the cost of living and prescription drugs? I've been going after pharmacy benefit managers for a long time with some Republican colleagues, I might add. And I think these are reforms that the Trump administration should embrace on a bipartisan basis.
See, the key is, Raja, you focus on having better ideas and seeing if you can get them implemented. It seems like your party got away from that instead of and they started defending the establishment. They started defending how things have already been done. That was the problem with the southern border. Last thing, don't you think?
It's not enough to say, for instance, that the rate of inflation is low. If everything is 20% more costly now than 5 years ago, people want to see costs go down. They don't want to just see them, go up at a slower pace. And so we need to kind of solve the kind of kitchen table problems that people have.
That's right. With better ideas, not saying Trump sucks. See, the same thing on immigration. I think, and it's not that whether he sucks or not, I'm just saying it doesn't get you where you want to be. But what might is, we're not going to run away from immigration. We're not going to say it's not a problem. We're not going to say anybody who thinks it's broken has no heart. We're going to work with Republicans, and we believe there do need to be rule changes. We don't want amnesty for everybody, but there should be a pathway for some people, and we're trying to get legislation done right now because Donald Trump is proving every day he can't do it by himself. I don't hear Democrats doing that.
Well, for instance, what I said is If we want to remove people with deportation orders who are convicted criminals, then they need to be escorted out of the country. They need to be removed. And let's do this in a reasonable, rational fashion. However, if we're going to do raids on hospitals or schools or churches, which, by the way, is starting to happen, that instills fear and panic. That's why we had a pop-up immigration town hall meeting just the other day, and within 2 hours, 800 people registered for this town hall meeting. And these were people that are largely documented. People ask questions like, okay, if I'm a green card holder, do I need to carry my papers with me all over the place?
But Raja,
I'm
with you. I'm with you about the fear.
I'm
with you about the fear and the overreach, but this is Biden's fault and the administration. By being lax, you had deportation orders and you did catch release. This is where we got because of laxity. Now there's an overcorrection. The answer is legislation. Trump is going to do some raids. He's not going to collect 20 million people, but you have to have better laws for the rules. That's the key.
That's the key. You can't rewrite the laws through executive orders, and you certainly can't rewrite the Constitution through executive order. Let's work together. Let's figure out what makes sense. Let's fix the border. There's no doubt it needs to be addressed. But remember, immigration is our #1 killer competitive app as a country. We are what we are because of Italian Americans, Jewish Americans, and African Americans, and so many people who make America what it is today. And I think 100%. That we have to embrace our diversity and our immigrants and improve our system.
The opportunity is to fix the system. It's going to get fixed. Are you going to give the Republicans the win because they'll have the numbers to get it through? Or are you going to say that you wanted to be part of the change and you're not all hung up on amnesty? That's the question for Democrats. We'll see how it's answered en masse. But, Raja, I appreciate you coming on to make the case. If your party sounds more like you, it's going to wind up being in a better position in the midterms. We'll see if it can be.
Thank you. Thank you.
Raja Krishnamurthy, representative from Illinois, always welcome on the show. Take care. 4 minutes and 45 seconds.